Hi, and welcome back to Part 5D of the Style Creator for Beginner series. In this video, I'll be taking a look at the NTR and NTT options within the SFF Edit section. NTR stands for Note Transposition Rule and NTT stands for Note Transposition Table. The reference manual has some good information about this segment, so it's well worth a read. The parameters we select here determine how the notes in the source pattern are converted according to the chord changes you make during playback. When you alter the NTR or NTT parameters, it only affects the channel you've selected, so you will have to check the parameters on every channel you've recorded to make sure you're happy with the settings. Starting with NTR and excluding guitar, we have two options, NTR root trans and NTR root fixed. The NTR setting determines how the notes in the source pattern are transposed according to the chord root change. NTT, however, affects how the notes in the source pattern are transposed according to the chord type change. These settings all work together and can be changed at any time, even after recording your source pattern. Sounds confusing, but it's actually fairly straightforward. When you change chords during playback, root trans will ensure that the intervals between notes is maintained. Whereas root fixed keeps the notes as close to the original note range as possible. There are several NTT options to choose from. If you're unsure what to choose, select melody if you're recording a melody, and if you're recording a chord, select chord. From here you can fine-tune if you need to. For example, if I was to record a simple melody in Style Creator and play this back with root trans and melody, I'd get this result. I could select chord and it would still work, but it's a melody, so I've selected melody. You can see that the interval is maintained throughout the various chord changes, so the melody sounds correct. If I now select root fixed and melody, because the notes are being kept as close to the original as possible, it plays like this, which loses the melody I created. The original source pattern plays alright, but then the inversions ruin the melody. If I change the melody to a chord and select root trans and chord, it now sounds like this, with all the note intervals being maintained. If I now change the setting to root fixed, it plays like this, keeping all the notes as close to the original as possible, which sounds more professional. So, essentially, with NTR, you're making a decision on whether you want to have your recorded source pattern maintain the intervals between notes when chord changing, or whether you're wanting to keep the notes as close as possible to the original, essentially using chord inversions. As well as melody and chord, there are other NTT options. At the bottom, there is the NTT bass option, which when set to on, enables the channel to respond to slashed on-bass chords. Also within NTT type, we have bypass.
Hey,
If I select NTR trans and bypass, the table used only converts the notes by maintaining the intervals between notes. As my original source pattern was a C major, I'm essentially locked into either the C major or any other chord that allows that interval to be maintained. So I can switch to an F major, for example, but no other type of F chord. When I select NTR fixed and bypass, I'm locked into just playing the original source pattern, regardless of any chord changes. The other NTT settings require some degree of music theory knowledge to understand their use. So, as a quick example, I was working on this style the other day. Everything plays fine using the C and F chord. But when I switch to a C minor, this happens. Several notes aren't transposing as I'd like them to. The Genos is converting the notes, but not following a rule that suits the transposition I need. The 6th and the 7th are incorrect. When I play the melody using the right hand, I can see that it's played using the natural C minor scale. If I look at the reference manual as a guide, I can see here by reading this text that I should try setting NTT to a natural minor. And in doing so, my problem is fixed. And that's the NTR and NTT settings in a nutshell. If you're new to Style Creator, try keeping things simple at first and get used to the settings. Create some simple chords and melodies and experiment with different settings to see how they affect the chord changes. If you're looking for some ideas, why not create a little style that allows you to practice your scales? Good luck, and I hope to see you back in part 5E for the video on retrigger rules.